Genesis chapter 8 is a significant chapter in the Bible as it chronicles the aftermath of the Great Flood, a cataclysmic event that reshaped the earth and human history according to the biblical narrative. Before we start, we'd like to ask for your support. If you enjoy our video, please hit the like button. This will help us reach more people and create content for you. Now let's get started with today's video. This chapter is not only a continuation of the story of Noah and the ark, but also an exploration of themes such as divine judgment, mercy, and the renewal of the covenant between God and humanity. The receding of the waters, Genesis chapter 8 verses 1 to 5. The chapter begins with the pivotal moment when God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. This phrase, God remembered, is deeply significant in the Hebrew context. It does not imply that God had forgotten Noah, but rather that God was now about to take specific action on Noah's behalf. The use of the term remembered is a biblical way of signifying that God is about to fulfill his promises or act in mercy toward his people. To begin the process of restoring the earth, God causes a wind to pass over the earth and the waters begin to subside. The term used for wind, ruach, is the same as that used for spirit in Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, where the Spirit of God hovers over the waters. This parallel suggests a new creation, a reordering of the earth from chaos, akin to the original creation narrative. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven are then stopped, and the rain from the sky is restrained. This marked the end of the torrential downpour that had lasted for 40 days and 40 nights, as described in Genesis chapter 7 verse 12. The waters gradually recede, and by the 150th day, the ark comes to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The specific mention of Ararat is significant because, in the ancient Near Eastern context, mountains were often seen as sacred places where the divine and human realms met. As the waters continue to decrease, the tops of the mountains become visible by the 10th month. The gradual subsiding of the waters and the re-emergence of the land can be seen as a reversal of the chaotic conditions that the flood brought about, restoring order to the world. The sending out of birds, Genesis chapter 8 verses 6 to 12. After 40 more days, Noah opens the window of the ark, which he had made, and begins to test whether the earth is dry enough to leave the ark. He first sends out a raven. The raven is a scavenger, and it is possible that it found floating carcasses to eat, which is why it does not return to the ark. The text says that the raven went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. The raven's behavior contrasts with the dove that Noah sends out later. Noah then sends out a dove to see if the waters have abated from the face of the ground. Unlike the raven, the dove is a bird that seeks dry ground and clean places to rest. The dove, however, finds no place to set its foot and returns to the ark. Noah waits another 7 days before sending the dove out again. This time, the dove returns in the evening with a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak, signaling that the waters have indeed receded and that vegetation is beginning to grow again. The olive leaf is a symbol of peace and new beginnings, and it reassures Noah that the earth is being restored. After another 7 days, Noah sends out the dove once more. And this time it does not return. The absence of the dove indicates that it has found a place to live and that the earth is sufficiently dry for Noah and his family to leave the ark. The exit from the ark, Genesis chapter 8 verses 13 to 19. The narrative then fast forwards to the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, when Noah removes the covering of the ark and sees that the surface of the ground is dry. And God gives Noah the command to leave the ark. God instructs Noah to bring out every living creature that is with him so that they may swarm on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. This command echoes the blessing given to the creatures at the time of creation in Genesis chapter 1 verse 22 and to humanity in Genesis chapter 1 verse 28. It underscores the continuity of God's creative purposes despite the judgment of the flood. Noah, his family, and all the animals leave the ark, beginning the process of repopulating the earth. The animals, birds, and every creeping thing spread out over the earth, and life begins anew. The emergence from the ark marks a new beginning for humanity and the animal kingdom. The earth, cleansed by the flood, is now ready to support life once again. Noah's offering in God's covenant, Genesis chapter 8 verses 20 to 22, upon exiting the ark. Noah's first act is to build an altar to the Lord and offer burnt offerings of every clean animal and every clean bird. The act of offering sacrifices is a key element in the relationship between God and humanity throughout the Bible. It is an expression of gratitude, worship, and atonement. The concept of clean animals is significant here. In the earlier chapters of Genesis, Noah was instructed to take 7 pairs of clean animals and birds into the ark, as opposed to only 1 pair of unclean animals. Clean animals were suitable for sacrifice, and their presence in greater numbers allowed Noah to offer these sacrifices without endangering the species. When the Lord smells the pleasing aroma of the sacrifice, he resolves never again to curse the ground because of man. Even though the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth, this acknowledgement of humanity's sinful nature is important because it recognizes that the flood, while dealing with the immediate problem of widespread wickedness, did not eradicate sin from the human heart. God's promise not to curse the ground or destroy all living creatures again is a remarkable expression of his mercy. The flood was a judgment on sin, but God's response to Noah's sacrifice shows a commitment to mercy and the preservation of life despite human failings. God then makes a profound declaration about the future of the earth. While the earth remains, seedtime and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, shall not cease. This statement reflects God's intention to maintain the natural order and rhythms of the world. It is a promise of stability and predictability, ensuring that the cycles of nature will continue as long as the earth endures. Theological reflections on Genesis chapter 8. Genesis chapter 8 is rich in theological themes that resonate throughout the Bible. One of the primary themes is the concept of divine judgment tempered by mercy. The flood was a cataclysmic judgment on a world filled with violence and corruption. Yet God's actions after the flood demonstrate his mercy and his desire to renew the earth and his covenant with humanity. The theme of new beginnings is also central to this chapter. The flood can be seen as a kind of decreation, where the earth is returned to a state of watery chaos reminiscent of Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. The receding of the waters and the emergence of dry land is then a recreation, a fresh start for humanity and the animal kingdom. Noah, in this context, is a new Adam, stepping onto a renewed earth to fulfill God's command to be fruitful and multiply. The covenantal aspect of God's relationship with humanity is emphasized by his promise not to destroy the earth again. This promise lays the groundwork for the later covenants in the Bible, including the covenant with Abraham and the Sinai covenant with Israel. God's commitment to maintaining the order of creation despite human sinfulness is a testimony to his faithfulness and grace. The chapter also highlights the importance of worship and sacrifice in the human-divine relationship. Noah's offering of clean animals is a response to God's salvation, the flood, and an acknowledgement of God's sovereignty over life and death. Sacrifice, in the biblical sense, is not merely about atonement but is also an act of thanksgiving and dedication to God. Furthermore, the narrative invites reflection on the nature of humanity. The statement that the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth presents a realistic view of human nature. It acknowledges the persistence of sin even after such a profound act of judgment as the flood. This understanding of human nature is key to the biblical worldview and sets the stage for the unfolding story of redemption throughout the scriptures. Conclusion. Genesis chapter 8 marks a turning point in the biblical narrative, transitioning from the destruction of the flood to the renewal of the earth and the reaffirmation of God's covenant with humanity. It is a chapter that speaks of judgment and mercy, destruction and renewal, sin and grace. Through the actions of Noah and the response of God, the chapter reveals deep truths about the nature of God, the human condition, and the ongoing relationship between the Creator and his creation. As the earth is repopulated and life begins anew, Genesis chapter 8 lays the foundation for the rest of the biblical story, where God's covenant faithfulness continues to unfold in the history of his people. The chapter ends with a divine promise that the natural order will endure as long as the earth remains. A promise that undergirds the biblical hope for a future where God's purposes for creation will be fully realized. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video. Thank you.